Hi, welcome to We Wealth Women. My name is Athena Gardner. I am a CPA and founder of We Wealth Women, where I teach women how to confidently manage their finances and to create their best wealthy goddess life. We focus on wealth, womanhood, and wisdom, honey. So today we are going to discuss a hot topic, but things that all my lovely ladies especially need to know, and that is Project 2025. Okay, so as usual, I'm here to give you guys the hot topics, the things that we need to discuss, but also to get you to think about the things that how this matters to you, how does this pertain to you, and obviously my thoughts, perspective, and recommendations for you as well. If you are joining me live, please like and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching replay, definitely do that as well. We like to have fun over here. And we're going to go right into it. So, the first thing about Project 2025, what is it? Right? And I'm sure you're like, girl, what are you talking about right now? Well, if you've been living under a rock, Project 2025 is basically a plan, a presidential transition project organized by the Heritage Foundation with the aim of promoting a collection of conservative and right wing policies to reshape the United States government. So essentially, the Project 2025 is going to consolidate executive power, get rid of certain departments to give the president in control. Now, this plan policy that is created by the Heritage Foundation is really hoping and depending on a conservative leadership to step in and to do that, right? But in my personal opinion, I think it doesn't matter who is going to be sitting in that seat for the 2020, who's going to win the election. I think that the powers that be is going to make sure that this kind of rolls out, right? So I don't want to get into if you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican, Biden, Trump. That's not the issue today. The issue is, should these policies or this plan rolls out, regardless who is sitting in that chair, regardless of who wins that election November 2024, what does that mean for you? What what are you gonna do in that instance, right? So I wanted to go over the actual pieces I feel like are pertinent because listen, that Project 2025 document, which can be found on project2025.org. So for the people who want to actually go read that 800, 900 page policy and document, I've added it is at project2025.org. And some of the things that I'm going to be mentioning are from there. But I've kind of wanted to just focus on the things that will be important, especially for my particular audience and the things that caught my eye when I was learning about Project 2025. So first things first, and especially since this is a channel that caters mostly to women, right? Women's rights. Women's rights. How does Project 2025 affect women's rights? So basically, what my understanding of Project 2025 is that the policies that they plan on having in place is a more conservative policy and agenda. We already had Roe versus Wade peeled back, okay? They don't peel our eyelids off with Roe versus Wade overturning, right? So with Project 2025, it's going to be more difficult to even get an abortion. It's going to be more difficult to even get the abortion pill. It's going to be illegal to even try to send different medications through the mail. Basically, it's going to not mean a lot of good things as far as women's rights, especially when it comes to reproduction, right? It's going to be also made difficult to do, not even just from the abortion standpoint, but even getting pregnant. It is going to be difficult to even get IVF treatments and to have the options to really freeze your eggs because a lot of the policies in Project 2025 agenda, it makes it difficult for IVF companies and it creates more risk basically for them, because what it's saying is that it gives the embryo, it treats the embryo like it is already a child, right? And it gives less, which makes it more restrictive on how they are treated by that company and by the parents, person who creates the embryo. So more IVF clinics are going to actually shift from actually providing that service, because it creates more risk of them being sued, and companies are always managing risk. So it's going to be more difficult for women who want to freeze their eggs or exercise those options as well. So from the abortion standpoint, it's going to be more difficult. If you're trying to get pregnant, it's going to be more difficult. Birth control and all of that is going to be more difficult. So if you are a woman, and as you know, these policies disproportionately affect people who are underrepresented, people who are low socioeconomic background. So women across the board, but especially the women who fall in those categories, are going to be the ones most affected by that policy. So I want us to really, like I said, take some time, go through the policy yourself, learn as much as about it, go to project2025.org, right? And make sure that you read about that as well. But women, you need to listen up. Now, from then, we also want to take a look at how does this affect employment, right? How does Project 2025 affect employment? Well, with Project 2025, right, it is going to make the employment game is about to be changed already, just looking at AI and what AI is doing. But specifically, Project 2025, when you do employment, there were certain, especially under the Equal Opportunity Act, right? And those policies that are in place, it was trying to curtail some of the racial biases and give opportunities to underrepresented classes based on race, based on disability, based on, veteran status, those type of things. And there are incentives that corporations do get when they employ people of these backgrounds. With Project 2025, though, it's going to repeal those incentives and policies in place. So people who benefit from having those policies, so whether you have a disability, veteran status, race, underrepresented race, that is basically going to shift that back. So before, those policies were put in place to help advance and diversify our workforce and to give more equitable opportunities for people of these classes. That's basically going to go away. That's basically going to be put to the side. So it's definitely going to be the employment Hunger Games. Now, while unemployment right now is actually at a very, very low, I think it's about 3.8%. Employment, with that being taken away, and also with AI now. So AI is a whole nother wrench in this thing. AI actually has been shown, and in studies, and I've researched this, because as you know, I have a certificate in AI and business strategy from UPenn, to have a lot of racial gender bias when it comes to employment, when it comes to sifting through resumes and applications. So with Project 2025 agenda for employment, and also coupled with AI, if you are not basically a white male, this is going to make you getting a job even more difficult, right? It's going to be more difficult for you to get employment. There's going to be more challenge for you to do that if you are represented by those other classes, if you are basically not white male, right? So if you are just joining me, I'm basically talking about Project 2025, how to financially prepare for the political Hunger Games. So I'm basically just going over the major sections of key points in Project 2025, because, honey, it is a whole 900-page document with a plan for one immediate rollout, okay, especially the first 90 days with whoever the new president is going to be. The Heritage Foundation, who is the organization responsible for that plan, is hoping for a conservative leadership. So basically, they're hoping that Trump wins. So if that happens, they're basically trying to implement this. So I personally believe, regardless if it's Trump, if it's Biden, they're going to plan for this to roll out anyway. That's my personal belief. I don't have any extensive research to prove that. That's probably more so my conspiracy theory hat coming on with that, but that's just my personal belief. And I also believe, regardless of whoever is sitting on that seat, you need to be able to be prepared for whatever. Okay, you need to be prepared, because preparation is key to comfort. It's the key to relaxation. It is the key to remain calm in stressful times, because, girl, we are cooking in here, right? We are cooking in here. But I know right now we are facing a lot, okay, especially with the housing crisis. There's not enough affordable homes. Now, there's enough homes, right? There is enough homes, but a lot of people are unable to afford that. And that makes sense, because the average US worker, right? And I know I have an international audience, but I only know US stats. The average US worker makes $35,000 a year, right? And the average home right now is going for $375,000. So a lot of people already cannot afford homes, right? A lot of people already cannot afford homes. And with this Project 2025 plan, it's going to make home ownership even more difficult. Now, you may be thinking, Athena, how is that possible? Like, it's already hard. How is this going to affect home ownership? Within Project 2025, the plan for 30-year mortgages, the plan is to do away with that, or to make it more difficult to get a 30-year mortgage. Why is that going to be a problem? Most people, right, chance of helping to build generational wealth, to pass down something to their heirs, is through real estate, is going to be through housing market, right? I think I read somewhere that 90% of the wealth comes from real estate. Don't fact check me on that. I don't know for sure. Someone said it, so I haven't verified, but a lot of wealth is created via real estate regardless. So, and a lot of people's opportunities, especially when I just told you the average income is $35,000 a year, is through getting a 30-year mortgage. Now, ideally, would you want to do like a 20, 15, 10-year mortgage? Sure. But a lot of people's introduction into real estate is being able to afford that 30-year-old mortgage. With that being more difficult to get, it is going to prevent an already distressed housing market for most people to try to afford some place to live, more difficult for them to do that. Okay, you're going to have to qualify for a mortgage with a shorter term, which requires an increase in payment and down payment, right? So Project 2025 is going to make it a little bit more difficult for people to afford homes, right? This policy affects us all on different levels, all right? Nobody's going to go unscathed. But as I have said before, people of certain classes, underrepresented classes, women especially, are going to be affected even more by this. If you want to learn more about Project 2025, I suggest you do your own reading. You can go to project2025.com, right? Now, what else are we already have the foot on our necks. We are already facing a lot. There's a lot going on, right? Project 2025 is even going to affect healthcare costs. Healthcare, right? People are already having a difficult time affording healthcare. So this is going to make it even more difficult. How, right? Project 2025, some of the mandates in that plan is going to give the insurance companies more freedom to charge what they charge, more freedom to not cover certain services, and it's going to deregulate a lot of the insurance industry. Insurance is a very, very highly regulated industry. I used to audit insurance companies. And insurance companies are required to not only have a regular audit, but even statutory. They have to meet certain state requirements, certain government requirements. So, with deregulating that industry, and shifting more power to insurance companies, there's going to be more people having to pay more for what their comparable coverage. Insurance companies are going to be able to not provide covered services, pre-existing conditions, a whole enchilada, right? The cost of insuring a family, right? So a 4-person family, I think the stat was $22,000. $22,000 for a 4-person household. That is a cost of tuition, right? With the average person making $35,000 a year, so that's $70,000, and that's gross. That's not even for before tax. So when you take taxes out, that's probably $55,000. You're left with $30,000. Around $30,000 divided by 12, you're left with around like $3,000 a month. $3,000 a month to cover mortgage or rent, food, everything else. So that is another thing that will cause the financial strain, the financial pressure, right? But fortunately, we have time to prepare as much as possible. That's why you have me giving you as much information as possible, right? To give you what is the solution now. What are the things that you need to think about when it comes to Project 2025? What are the things you need to do to prepare yourself for what is definitely coming down the chain? I don't care whoever is sitting on that seat, right? I think the Heritage Foundation has been established since the 70s, 80s, right? There have been moves made, okay, the invisible political hands. We've already seen stuff happen with Supreme Court. Trump just got, stuff thrown out. Judges just gave him immunity as a president. There's things that are aligning themselves to make this a reality. Now, don't say this to scare any of you, but what I do know and what I am saying is you can't hide under a rock. You need to have a solid foundation for what is coming down, right? So what are my recommendations, right? What are my recommendations for us to act during this time, right? And what I recommend is, 1, make more money, honey. Listen, okay? Money trees. Right now is the time to galvanize. I don't care what it is that you choose to do. You need to do something. Either, start a business. That is definitely an option, because especially with how employment is going to be affected between this policy and AI, it's going to be more difficult to get a job through traditional means, and from a protected class standpoint, but also from a skills standpoint. AI is going to have its hand across all industries, across the board. And if you are not in a highly technical, specialized skill, especially in tech or, maybe accounting, certain industries, your job might not be here tomorrow. A lot of, especially factory workers, warehouses, they're not trying to keep you. So starting a business and trying to get your product or service out to try to, diversify your income streams is highly recommended. Make more money, upskill yourself or reskill yourself, depending on what it is. Should you plan for the future, right? Do I need to get a technical trade? Do I need to, become an electrician, become a plumber, HVAC? Do I want to be an engineer of some place? Because, the robots are going to need servicing and programs and all that, right? You need to figure out if you want to take the time to focus on advancing your career, negotiating your salary, networking that way, job stacking. As controversial as it may seem, might not be such a bad idea, especially if you work remotely. Figure out how you're going to financially weather potential storms. In the midst of that, also, especially for your mental health, build community, right? Now is not the time to isolate yourself. The lone wolf thing is not, this is not the time. Now you need to reach out and expand your network if you haven't done so already. Who are your friends and your family that you can emotionally, spiritually, financially rely on? Who are in positions to help you, to provide products and services that you may need? Do you know any doctors or any people who know alternative methods or medicines that can help you, especially with the healthcare costs, especially with women's reproductive rights, those type of things of that nature? Now is the time to really lean in and build community, right? A community of people that you trust. Right? Now, if you've been watching me and you've made it to this part of the video, thank you. Make sure you hit a like and subscribe and comment down below. What is your plan for Project 2025? Are there any tips or suggestions that we can all benefit from? I would love to hear it. And also let me know if you think that this is going to only be in effect with a conservative president like Trump is running, or a more progressive president like Biden. Let me know what you think. If you also are concerned about, Athena, I do not have a financial plan. I do not have anything together. I feel stressed about that. I don't even know how to go about that. You can try a free preview of my course, The Goddess Guide to Money, at my website. Go to ggtm.wewealthwomen.com and you can enjoy a free preview. Okay, the preview goes through the first module that is free, and that is for you to decide if, get a nice sample if that is something that you want to do. I honestly think that I create some of the best courses. I have taken courses of people who are even more notable than me, and they're not touching on what I'm touching on or teaching how I'm teaching. I'm not saying that to disparage anybody, but I know I give great value. So if you're interested in that, go there as well. If you also want a free budget guide, I offer one at go.wewealthwomen.com/budget to get your money together. And also make sure that you listen to me on my We Wealth Women podcast. That is available on Apple, Spotify, and iHeart as well, right? That is available as well. So in closing, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hopefully, it sounds bad, but I know that it is a political Hunger Games. Like, honestly, I saw a meme the other day and someone was like, you are here in the middle, and it was like these different Venn diagram circles, and it said The Matrix, 1984, Hunger Games, They Live, and it's just insane to me that this is the environment that we are in now. But nevertheless, it's the environment that we're in, and what we have to do is definitely, no matter what happens, right? No matter what is going on, we have to be taken care of in comfort and support, in an abundance mindset, in a mindset of prosperity, in a mindset that we will thrive regardless of whatever the conditions, and definitely not be defeated by life, right? So I know I have said a lot of things that may cause some stress right now, right? But in order to maintain peace, you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan on how you're going to solve potential problems and to also get ahead of them. And this is what this video is intended to do, right? If you like my content, be sure to follow at We Wealth Women on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. I am Athena Gardner. I am a CPA and founder of We Wealth Women. You can find me on all my social platforms at We Wealth Women and at wewealthwomen.com. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video.